I imagine some of you will look at the title of this video with many a cockeyed saying, "Spoon, you're coming out against parental rights? Oh, this is gonna be good," and then grab some popcorn. Feel free to, and context dependent here, but yes, at least for this scenario, and you will all agree because I make good points. Now, I base this on a conversation. I say conversation, it was on MSDNC with Joyless Reed, so shit show is more an apt description, where naturally she spars with a conservative lady over the accessibility of certain graphic material in schools, shall we say. I'll link the video down below. I'm not going to show the whole thing here because, well, it's 5 minutes and 2 women, one of which is Joyless Reed and it's MSDNC. If I wanted a throbbing headache, I'd get plastered drunk. It'll kill his brain cells. And if you're thinking, oh god, it's going to be 5 minutes of Reed constantly interrupting, isn't it?
Second.
No, wait, we're talking about public school.
One moment.
All right.
So now you've asked me a question.
Sure.
And I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
Ha, professionalism, fake smile, you two can't stand each other and we all know this. If you're wondering why I'm not showing more of it, because it's basically just that for 5 minutes. And I don't hate you guys enough to expose you to that, it seems kind of unfair. By the way, the opposition to book banning is stupid on so many levels, it's not even funny. It's basically the genetic fallacy on broken steroids. Well, the Austrian man and his henchman did X, and therefore anyone who does X is like the Austrian man. Yeah, the Austrian man was also famous for not drinking, and liking dogs and vegetables, and doing meth. So, by that logic, am I part of the Ubermensch because I'm the inverse of that? By the way, today's breakfast whiskey is Maker's 46, or as I will call it from now on, my anti-fascism elixir. And by the way, to give it TLDR of this mindless scuffle, Joy Reid has one argument, and one argument only. Why should you intrude on someone else's so-called freedom? Classic Americana reasoning, which is BS by the way, for reasons I'll go into in a different video. The conservative lady obviously has better points and arguments, which is why Reed never engages or answers her questions directly, because she would lose. Here's the problem though. These conversations are pointless, because no one actually learns anything. They will just take their side and whistle the winner's tune, regardless of the merits of any argument. There's no objective winner in any grand sense. Leftists will go, yay, freedom against the authoritarian, and the right will go, Reed is insane and shifty, she dodges everything, and we all know why, and naturally the right is correct, Reed is wrong about everything. There's people you can tell, nah, you're peddling shit for a paycheck. Not in her case, I think she's legitimately evil. She basically tries to pull the freedom card of, what gives you the right to prohibit other parents from allowing their children to access such material? Now, I'd have just said I have the moral authority and your freedom can go to hell. I don't hold freedom as an ideal at all, so I have no problem taking a chainsaw to it. And as much as I hate to say this, Reed still won the argument, because the conservative lady is too dense to even realize she lost so much ground in this argument, she looks impotent and weak. And this is the hill that I will die on. At no point is there any discussion about why does any of this perverted evil even exist, let alone cater to children or its avenue of attainment. This is ridiculous. Regardless of the strength of her argument, Reed whipped out a form and pretty much went, yeah, here's a form you can opt out if you don't want your child to access such material. And the conservative woman goes, oh, this is such a wonderful step in the right direction. No, this is a terrible step in the wrong direction, because any step in this direction is still the wrong direction. First off, do any of you trust America's public school system to respect the wishes of the parents? No, because you're not crazy. But the teachers are, and they do not care and will suffer no consequence for defying the wishes of the parents. Secondly, and here's where I'm going to come off like some kind of crazy theocrat, but I do not want any adults exposing children to things of a perverse nature. Biological relation is utterly irrelevant here, so I completely reject this notion of choice as a parent. Choosing implies the material is still there. My goal is to have it removed entirely, and anyone who pushes it in any capacity spend the rest of their lives behind bars, or worse. The innocence of children is absolute hard red line. Let's be real here for a second, shall we? When these people talk of rainbow youth, that is a cult. Heaven's sake, adults fall prey to this nonsense, let alone children. I don't consider it fit for human consumption, age be damned. And the so-called parents who push this on their children merely use them as fashion accessories to look good in the eyes of the regime. This bollocks of, oh, parents know what's best for their children. No, that is not an absolute statement either, as if terrible parents do not exist. Ridiculous. And this claim of Reed that the conservative woman presents herself as some kind of expert, please, cut the crap. Anyone with some brains knows expert in this cycle is the code for religious caste of this regime. In previous cycles, this would have been the church and the clergy. In this one, it's the university apparatus and some wanker with a PhD. As if this entity is completely immune from the corruptions of power. Hell, if I hear the phrase expert now, I immediately think regime propagandist. Oh, do forgive me and my skepticism. I just happen to have a sour taste left in my mouth, having lived the past 6 years under the rule of academics. You can kiss my bollocks. Heaven's sake, if the parents don't know what their children are being subjected to at school, they go to a so-called expert, or quack as they're so-called if you happen to be sane. And the expertise they will peddle will be lockstep in line with the teachings of the lower clergy, otherwise known as the public schooling system. Funny how that one works out, isn't it? You know what else I've also noticed? Children who get homeschooled aren't plugged into the TikTok algorithm for some strange reason aren't stricken by this affliction. I wonder why that is. Why, it's almost like it's political propaganda that exists nowhere in nature organically. I'll be damned. If your goal was to protect children, you've achieved nothing. At best, you've slowed it. All you've done is transfer the halls of indoctrination from school to home. You've removed the leaf, but you've left the roots entirely still intact. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.